and welcome back to my channel. My name is Hannah. This is Jar of Fireflies, and here you'll find videos all about my life as an Orthodox Jewish homeschooling mother of 3. And today I'm going to be answering your questions. Okay folks, in a recent video I did a little Q&A and then I asked you to submit more questions, and boy did you guys deliver. I've got a ton of questions for you that I cannot wait to get to. We will not get to all of them today. This will have to be continued in another video, but I'm super stoked to get to whatever I can in today's video. I do want to start off before we dive into the questions by saying that I sound probably a little bit funny today because I have been a little bit under the weather the past couple of days. One of my kids got a cold and decided to share it with the family. It happens. Thankfully, I am feeling much better right now, but I still have just like a little bit of a stuffy nose. All right, so let's dive into these questions. Some of them are personal questions towards me. Some of them are just general questions about Judaism. Okay, the first question is from Hannah, and she says, I've seen a few Jewish people on TikTok talk about not being able to tear toilet paper on Shabbat. Is this true? Is this true of the Sephardi Jews? And is it true of people in your community? Yes, yes, and yes. No, we do not tear toilet paper on Shabbat. We don't tear anything unless we're trying to open up food that we're about to eat. So yes, that is totally a thing. It is a thing amongst Jews. It is a thing amongst Sephardi Jews, and it is a thing amongst Jews in my community. So what we do instead is we will either tear toilet paper before Shabbat starts and put it in like a cute basket or something by the toilet, or we will set out a box of tissue and people will use that instead of toilet paper. So yeah, totally a thing. One of those weird things we do. Also, super fun that there's Jews on TikToks. I'm not on TikTok, so I wouldn't know that. I am on Instagram, and of course I'm here on YouTube. So follow me, please. If you're not following me already, hit that bell so that you get all of your notifications. And hop on over to Instagram after this video where you can follow me there at jar_of_fireflies. Okay, next question. The next question is from Sylvia. How does Judaism deal with diabetes during fast days? So I get this question a lot because one of my children does have type 1 diabetes. Okay, so he is currently too young to fast. He will not start fasting until he has his bar mitzvah at the age of 13. Up until that point, he will not be obligated to fast. Now, because of his diabetes, I don't know that he will ever be obligated to fast. Because we're still quite a few years off from that, we haven't really asked a rabbi what's the deal with that. But from what I know, speaking with other people, and from what I know about medically being exempt from a fast, because I have done that many times before myself, he will probably not fast. He may be able to start attempting to do a fast, and if it works, great. But if he gets to a point where he needs to have food or sugar, drink whatever for his blood sugar, he would have to immediately stop the fast and do that. He would be then at that point required to stop the fast. So I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But in general, there are so many medical reasons why somebody would not be allowed to fast. And it's generally just a quick conversation with your doctor, your rabbi, and figure that out. It is a conversation that you need to have with your rabbi. Generally, especially with these medical reasons, it's done in conjunction with a doctor. I have gone to just my rabbi and got medical exemptions from a fast. I've also gone to my doctor and my doctor said, no, it's totally fine for you to fast. And then my rabbi is being overly cautious and says, no, I don't think that you should. So it totally depends on the situation. And this is just another reason why it's really important to have a good relationship with your rabbi so that they can give you the right answer for you in your particular situation. Okay, the next question is from Yana. How old was I when I had my first child? I think I was 32. I might have turned 33 though by the time that I actually had my first child. All right, the next question is, how often do you encounter venomous snakes and insects? All right, so this is a fun Texas question. I live in Texas. We have a ton of venomous snakes here. However, I've never seen one here in Texas, and I spend a ton of time outdoors camping, hiking, and things like that. The only time I've ever encountered a venomous snake was in California. I was hiking in Big Sur and I encountered a rattlesnake. Super scary, but I did live to tell the tale. Now in Texas, I've only encountered the venomous insects. So I was bit by a brown recluse spider. For those of you that don't know, brown recluses rank up there with black widows. They're really tiny, they're brown, they blend right in, they like to hide in your clothes, and they bite you. So anyways, I got bit. Within hours, this bug bite turned into this like massive thing on my arm. It took up like my whole arm. It hurt so badly. I couldn't move my arm. It was really gross. We won't get into those details, but quick trip to my doctor, got some steroids, and within about a week or so, I was back to normal. I did have a scar for years and years and years, but it's gone now. So yay, Texas. Okay, the next question is, as an Orthodox Jew, how do you keep that balance of living in the world with a prevalence in New Age, New Thought, occult, and not engage in it fully? So I'm not sure that I completely understand your question. I mean, I think it's pretty easy just to not participate in things like witchcraft, if I'm interpreting your question correctly. There's that line between fantasy and witchcraft. So this comes up a lot with Harry Potter. There's a lot of people who see my channel, see that we love Harry Potter, and are like, how can you possibly bring that into your home? Like, what is wrong with you? Okay, so for me, when I look at Harry Potter, I see that as fantasy. Harry Potter really doesn't have anything to do with actual witchcraft. To me, it's just pure fantasy. It's a really magical world that J.K. Rowling made up, has nothing to do with real life witchcraft. Now, there's other things, like there was a show on Amazon Prime that my kids wanted to watch. They asked if they could watch it. I looked at it, and it was, what was it called? Can't remember what it was called, but it was about magic. And so they probably were thinking something along the lines of Harry Potter. But when I looked at it, it was just like a little bit too much like modern witchcraft. It was like growing the herbs and having a book of shadows. And I don't think they called it that, but like it was essentially a book of shadows. I didn't watch the whole episode. I just watched enough to know that that was not going to be a good fit for my family because it was way too much like real actual witchcraft. So I guess that's kind of how I draw the line and how I can stay out of it, is that I know what the witchcraft is that people do today, and then I can just keep that out of my home. I hope that answers your question. All right, the next question is from Sharon, and it says, do you celebrate Christian holidays with your family? No, I do not celebrate Christian holidays with my family. I felt like that would be a little bit too confusing for my kids when they were growing up to have all of those holidays in addition to our own. Plus, that would just be like an absolute ton of holidays. And then I have other opinions about those holidays. Even if I was still a Christian, I really wouldn't be celebrating those holidays the way that an American would, because I don't agree with like the roots of where they all come from, which is a whole other conversation. But yeah, to answer the question, no, I don't. However, I do spend time with my extended family around their holidays because I know that's all they really want anyway. So it's important to them just to be together as a family, and I don't have a problem with that at all. So often on a holiday that we don't celebrate, but my family does, we might meet to go for a hike or go play at the park or just go hang out and have a good time, but not having anything to do with actually celebrating their holiday. All right, the next question is, how many children would you like to have? All of them. Oh my gosh, I love kids. I really, really wanted just a house full of kids, but as y'all know, that was not exactly in the cards for me. I did not start having children, as we just said, until I was in my 30s. So there was only that much time to begin with. I'm 40 now, so time is kind of running out. And, you know, we've looked into a lot of other things like adoption and fostering and things like that, trying to figure out what would be a good fit for our family and how that would work for our family. And is that something that's financially possible? And like all these sorts of things. So wouldn't say we're done yet, but we'll see how it actually turns out and when that actually turns out. It's totally a dream of mine to foster teenagers and adopt teenagers, but that's not something I feel like would be a reasonable thing to do with the ages of my kids right now. Definitely something we're going to be looking into later on in life. So who knows how many kids I will end up with. But for now, we have 3 beautiful children, and I am really, really happy with that. All right, the next question is from Kristen. How do you know what type of Jew you are? All right, so I'm assuming that you mean Ashkenaz or Sephardi. So the quick primer here is that Ashkenaz Jews are from certain parts of Europe, whereas the Sephardi Jews were pretty much from Spain, but they were all expelled from Spain in 1492 and settled in other parts of the world, mainly in North Africa and in parts of the Middle East. So that's kind of how you know what kind of Jew you are, is that it has to do with your family. So your parents would know, and you're born into that, and they know because they know where their relatives were from. So for me, my husband's family is from Morocco. His parents did move to Israel where he was born, but his parents had lived there for centuries, really since 1492. So that's the deal with them. So that's how we know what we are. And then when a woman gets married, she adopts the customs of her spouse. So before I converted, I was following Ashkenaz customs because I was in an Ashkenaz community and converted with an Ashkenaz rabbi. But once I got married, then I was a Sephardi Jew because my husband is Sephardi. All right, so the next question is from Lisa. Do women sometimes wear leggings under their skirts and dresses? So yes, absolutely. During the summer, I like to wear little undershorts because chafing. And then in the winter for warmth, I will 100% wear leggings, and so do many of my friends. So it's absolutely a thing. All right, next question is, do I get my eyebrows done? No, not exactly. I mean, I don't go somewhere to get them done, but I do take care of them myself. So yes, in that instance. So I don't know, but I've never gone anywhere to get them done. Okay, so the next question is from Elaine. It says, do you go out in the evenings with girlfriends just to chill and catch up? Yes. Not very often, but sometimes I will. It's not really a thing for me personally. I don't really like to go out in the evenings. I want to just stay home and go to bed. And I'd rather have just a couple of girlfriends over and we'll sit on my porch and drink wine and just talk the night away. That to me is a perfect idea of a wonderful evening. I don't really like to go out, but I totally could, and I sometimes do. All right, the next question is from Jamie. What brought your husband to the United States? Okay, so my husband was born in Israel and he moved to Texas probably, 17, 18 years ago at this point. And he came over here because he had a friend who had a business here, and he offered my husband a job to come over to America and work for him here. So he did. And the rest, as you say, is history. But we do have the joke that he had to come to the United States to meet me. So that's always like the joke of the real reason that he came here. All right, so the next question is, does he have other family in the United States? Yes, he does have other family in the United States. He has a sister and her family that live in the New Jersey area, and then a lot of extended family up in that kind of New Jersey, New York-ish kind of area up there on his brother-in-law's side. So yeah, we luckily have a lot of family here. It's just not so much close by on his side, but then we have my family, which is all close by to me here. All right, so the next question, if I buy something not kosher by mistake, is it better to throw it away or to eat it? Definitely better to throw it away. I don't want to eat something that is not kosher. However, I am going to go with option number 3 on this one, which is my own option of giving that food item away. And what we do when this happens is I will either give it away to my family if I know I'm going to see them soon because they're all Catholic and they don't keep kosher, or I'll bring it if I'm going to be meeting up with some of my non-Jewish friends and I'll give it to them, or I will, like if all else fails, I will just drop it by the local food pantry. But no, I've never thrown away food that's not kosher. I always make sure that it gets somewhere where somebody can eat it. Okay, the next question, would covering your hair affect your hair or thin it out? For me personally, I haven't noticed any problem with thinning hair. I have noticed kind of the opposite. My hair has never looked better. I think because it's covered, it's very protected from the elements, the wind, the sun, things like that. And then I'm not washing it as often, so it's healthier for that reason. And then I'm also not using a lot of harmful heat products on my hair, like the hair dryer or a hair straightener or a curling iron. And then I'm not putting any other like just random products in my hair, really. I'm not dyeing it anymore. So there's like a lot of things like that my hair is so much healthier for all of those reasons. And it looks fantastic. All right, so the next question is from Hadar, and it says, would we ever consider moving to Israel? 100% yes, absolutely. At this moment, no. But in the future, yes, and in the past, oh yeah. We almost moved there 7-8 years ago, but ended up staying here instead. We would love to move to Israel someday. We think that it would be a great place to raise our children. We have a lot of my husband's family lives there. He's from a really big family, and they almost all still live there. So, and his mother still lives there. So there's a lot of reasons that we would love to move to Israel. But right now, feels like this is home. So we're here for now. All right, the next question is, how do women manage the mikvah during unpredictable menopause, and do they stop going when menopause has ended? Okay, so just to back up, a week after our period is over, we will go to the mikvah to immerse in the mikvah. That is one of the uses of the mikvah. So when your period is unpredictable, yes, you will still wait a week after your period and go to the mikvah. So I had some times, like when I was going through my fertility stuff, where I was having a period more frequently and I was going to the mikveh very often. And then there's other times, like while you're pregnant, where you're not having a period for, many, many months in a row. And so you're not going to the mikveh at all. So the same kind of goes for menopause. If you're having a period, closer together, you'll still wait that week and go again. Or if you're having a period farther apart, then you're just not going to the mikveh as often. And then yes, when menopause is ended and you are no longer having a period, you no longer would need to go to the mikveh for that reason. Okay, next question. Can your husband see you breastfeed? Yes. It's just feeding my child. There's really nothing immodest about that. I'll breastfeed anywhere, but that's just me. All right, the next question. How do you remain modest during labor and delivery as well as postpartum in the hospital? I don't really. I mean, it's childbirth. There's not much modesty in childbirth. That said, I will try to keep my hair covered the entire time, and that really has not been too difficult for me. I always have a doula there with me. So one of her tasks as my doula, like that my doulas always know, help me keep my hair covered. So that's a thing. But as far as like actually having a baby, that's just, it's all out there. There's really nothing modest there. And then postpartum, I don't know. I mean, I'll wear a hospital gown. That's just me personally. I do have some friends that will bring like their own hospital gowns so that they can be more modest during that time. I just wear the hospital gown. So yeah, childbirth in general is just not a super modest time. So for me, I focus really more on keeping the head covered and not worrying about everything else. Okay, the next question is, how can two products, for example, tortilla chips with the exact same ingredients, have one that is kosher and the other that is not? This is a great question. Okay, so part of getting your certification for being a kosher product would mean that your ingredients would have to be certified kosher, and there would have to be some amount of supervision going into the product that you are preparing. So some products require a lot of supervision, like wine, for example. Some products require very minimal supervision, like tortilla chips. I'm sure there's some kind of a fee involved, but I understand that it's very worth it from people who work in industries like that because it opens up a much broader customer base there. But yeah, so there's that fee that's involved, and then there's the supervision, and then there's the checking of the ingredients. So if those things haven't been done, if nobody's ever supervising how you're making your product, and if nobody's checked your ingredients to make sure that they are in fact kosher ingredients, then that is not going to be a product that's going to be able to be deemed kosher, even though it may very well be kosher if you just had that supervision and checking. So that is the answer to that. Okay, the next question is another food question. How are eggs classified? Do you treat them as meat? Eggs are surprisingly considered parve, meaning they are not considered meat or dairy. So I can eat my eggs with anything. Okay, the next question. Oh, more food question and a pet question. Does Bella eat kosher? Bella is our dog, and she does not have to eat kosher. We do make sure that we buy dog food that doesn't have any like blatantly unkosher ingredients like meat and cheese mixed together, but she eats just regular dog food. For us personally, we bought her grain-free dog food from the get-go, but that's because my son has celiac and we wanted to make sure that he'd be able to feed the dog and wouldn't have to worry about accidentally then touching something else that he might ingest and have a celiac reaction to that. Okay, we are trucking along. This is great, you guys. Okay, the next question, are we allowed to adopt? Yes, Jewish people are definitely allowed to adopt. We can adopt Jewish children or non-Jewish children. Just if you adopted a non-Jewish child, you would want to go through the conversion process with that child, which is different when you're adopting a baby. I don't know all the details on it, but what I believe happens is you do the conversion when they're younger, but then when they hit the age of bar or bat mitzvah, then they like complete the process by officially deciding to take on all of the mitzvot for themselves. Whereas if you adopt a Jewish child, they're already Jewish, you don't have to do anything. But yes, we can adopt. All right, the next question is from Melissa. She says, what do we do on Shabbat afternoons? A lot of times lunch will last till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Lunches are filled with such great conversation and Torah study and wonderful food that they can easily stretch on very late in the day. Oftentimes what my family will do in the afternoons is we will read books out loud together. My son and I take that as an opportunity to read Harry Potter together. We like to go to the park and we'll meet up with a lot of friends at the park. And we also enjoy just going for walks as a family or going to visit friends. Like we'll have play dates at different friends' houses and things like that. But that's kind of how we spend most of our afternoons. All right, Fran asked the question, do we have fireflies in Texas? Yes, we do. I get fireflies around our house in those nice, like kind of summer nights, and I just absolutely love it. It is so magical. And when they start coming out, I'll take my kids for walks around twilight there in the evenings, and we'll just watch them and we'll hunt for them and watch them. It's so much fun. I saw one actually a few weeks ago, but I think now it's too cold for them. So we'll see next year. All right, so the next question is an adopted child considered the same as a biological child in the eyes of Orthodox Judaism? Okay, so this is a complicated question with a simple answer. Two simple answers, I guess. So maybe it's not that complicated. Okay, so if I adopted a child, this child would be considered mine to everybody that I know as though I had given birth to it. So the difference here would be though when that child's Jewish name. So like when we get called to the Torah or when we get married or things like that, we use our Jewish name. So that Jewish name is our name, and then it's Bat or Ben is for daughter or son, their parents' name. So like for me though, because I am a convert, my name is Chana Bat Avraham. So an adopted child would have one of two last names. If they were a Jewish child who was adopted, then they would have the name of their biological Jewish parent. And if they were adopted as a non-Jewish child and converted, then they would also be the Ben or Bat Avraham. So that's really the main thing there. All right, so the next question is, if the husband is studying Torah and the wife is raising the children, how does the family earn an income? So somebody's working, somebody's got to be working there, or somebody else is supporting them. It's pretty simple. So I think in the most extreme cases, you might have a wealthy parent who supports their children while one is raising the family and one is learning Torah. But in a sense, that's like paying that man to study Torah. There's also definitely a thing where men do get paid to study Torah. We have what's called a kollel here in the area where I live, and men go there and they get paid to study Torah. They get paid an actual salary, which they can then support their families on. So they're learning Torah all day. That is their job. And they will also teach some classes and things like that, while their wives can then take care of the children. Oftentimes the wives choose to work anyways to earn extra money while they're saving for a down payment or something like that. But yeah, somebody is working. You can also have a family situation like mine where I am staying home and taking the kids. My husband works all day full time, but then he also learns at night and on days off from work. So he does both. He works and learns. And of course, there are other families where the husband is learning all day, but the wife is off working. So in that case, they're probably working together to raise the kids. Of course, all I can really speak of for sure is my own family, because I know the inner workings of my family. I do not know the inner workings of every other family out there. All right, this next question. Oh, this is so much fun. If I could meet one person from Jewish history, who would it be? I would meet Miriam. This is his sister, Moshe Rabbeinu's sister. I would love to meet her. She is so fantastic. She has such an amazing story. She's awesome. And she's my middle name. I'm Chana Miriam. So yeah, she's super, super rad. I think she would be someone to be able to impart so much wisdom, and I'd love to hear more about her and about her story, like from her own voice. So it would be so amazing to be able to sit down and chat with her. All right, the next question, do we have Hebrew Sign Language for the deaf? So yes, we do. There is Israeli Sign Language, or ISL, and that's the one most commonly used by the deaf community in Israel. So yeah, I think that is super neat. All right, the next question is, what are the rules for makeup, jewelry, and piercings? Okay, we don't really have any rules for those things. You can do whatever you want. So I could get piercings. I know plenty of women with nose piercings, things like that, multiple ear piercings. I just have my ears pierced each one time. I'm super boring like that. Makeup, we can totally wear makeup. I personally don't wear makeup very often, but that is just a personal choice for me. And jewelry, yes, again, I personally don't wear jewelry very often, but we absolutely can wear jewelry, and I do own jewelry. So Shabbat is where I'm going to be a lot more likely to wear jewelry. Now, that said, there are rules about makeup on Shabbat and holidays. And for that, we can put on makeup before the holiday and then wear it throughout Shabbat or the holiday, but we can't take it off. So a lot of women that I know will get like the lipstick that lasts really long time, like 24 hours, they'll wear that. Again, I just don't wear makeup on Shabbat, like ever, because I don't want to deal with that. And the thought of sleeping in makeup is awful to me. But plenty of women I know do and will. But we cannot reapply makeup on Shabbat, and we cannot take it off. Okay, Catherine asked the question on the subject of building a family. Is adoption an option if you have fertility issues, or can it be a route just because? It absolutely can be done just because. I know a woman who has many children and no fertility issues, and she recently adopted a baby. We can totally do that. So it's definitely not like considered a last resort or anything like that. You can 100% adopt. It's super cool. I actually recently read an article about a guy, a single guy, who's adopted like 7 or more, like a ton of these boys he's adopted. I think it's so beautiful. It's great. So, all right, the last question I will do today is also from Catherine. It says, can you explain kosher? I can, but only briefly. Okay, so kosher. There are certain foods that we cannot eat. For example, pork products, things like that. We can't eat those. We don't eat bugs. We don't eat birds of prey. And then there are certain animals that we can eat. So these are going to be animals that chew their cud and have cloven hooves. Cow, sheep, buffalo, those are some examples of animals that we can eat. As far as birds go, like I said, no birds of prey, but we can eat things like chicken or duck, things like that. Those are totally fine to eat. Now, there are certain food combinations which we cannot eat. So we do not eat meat and milk products together. So we don't eat the cheeseburgers, but we can definitely eat them separately. Now, as a Sephardi Jew, I also will not eat fish and dairy products together, but Ashkenazi Jews can. If we are eating a packaged food product, it must be certified kosher, meaning that it has a hechsher on it. I will link in the description box below to my Kosher Haul video where I go through hechshers and explain a lot more about that in that video. There's also a waiting period. After we eat meat, we will wait a certain number of hours. For me, it is 6 hours before I will eat a dairy product. So if I go and have chicken for lunch, it's got to be 6 hours before I can have something chocolate or ice cream or something like that. If I'm eating dairy though, there's no waiting period afterwards till I am eating meat products, unless I'm eating a hard cheese. That complicates things. Okay, that's like a super nutshell version of kosher. Please understand that it is a much broader and more complicated issue than that, but that's just a very basic gist of the kosher thing. If you're interested in learning more about kosher, I'm sure there's some really great articles on like the OU website or the Star K website or the CRC website, things like that. Okay, that will be my final question for today because this video is getting pretty long already. I will do a follow-up video to this and answer some more of your questions, so do not worry if I didn't answer your question today. Hopefully you will receive your answers soon. For now, be sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy this video. It helps me out a lot and it lets me know what kinds of videos you guys like to see. Okay, and so with that, I will call this video a close. I hope that you all have a fabulous rest of your day, and I will see you in my next upload. But I don't. Somebody's vacuuming. So, but yeah, just, ugh. Now Shabbat is where I'll be more often likely to